Kabir Adamu is a security analyst and the managing director of Beacon Consulting, a security and risk management company. He joins us from Abuja. So, as we laid out, ECOWAS tried to pressure the coup leaders. They imposed sanctions, they shut borders, and the response from the junta is, well, okay, we're going to leave the group then. How much of a loss is that for ECOWAS?
Well, from looking at the strategic position of the three countries within the Sahel, especially when we discuss security, it is a huge loss. At the moment, ECOWAS and most countries in the region are dealing with challenges. Non-state armed groups, some of them terroristic, have been attacking, including the three countries that are exiting. And so where gaps emerge, like what we're seeing at the moment, it allows these groups to grow stronger. It allows them to take advantage of those gaps. And so we're likely to see more attacks, more security occurrences, both within the three countries and then, of course, within the larger ECOWAS sub-region. And then, of course, economic interest. The raison d'etre for establishing ECOWAS is to advance trade and have a free economic zone. And unfortunately, given the strategic position of these countries, that would be very difficult to achieve, except some form of agreement is arrived at that allows free movement and, of course, concessions on goods transfers and things like that. Of course, even the political consequence, especially with regards to governance, coups occurred in those three countries. And the other countries are looking on to what would happen in terms of transition to civil and democratic rule. That too could have a consequence on the ECOWAS sub-region as a whole. And then, of course, the last point would be I was going to talk about the consequence of geopolitics. Russia is establishing a foothold in the sub-region. Of course, the U.S. has exited Niger. And we're likely to see more of the two countries, both France and the U.S., in Nigeria. And so how that is going to play out within the larger geopolitics of the sub-region is also something that would affect the ongoing negotiations between ECOWAS and the Sahelian countries.
So ECOWAS hopes these countries will not leave. In fact, as we said, they're giving them a 6-month, they're leaving in January. They've reiterated that they're going to leave and not change their minds, and their exit is formally happening next month. But ECOWAS has said you have 6 months, you have a grace period during which you can change your minds and come back. And the new president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, still trying to mediate that, right, to keep them within the bloc. Do you think there's any chance they end up staying within ECOWAS?
I mean, if the current situation remains, in other words, if the three countries are governed by the military juntas in them, then I don't see any change. If also Nigeria maintains the rapport that it's establishing with France and, of course, with countries like the U.S., then I don't see anything changing. However, if any of these determinants changes within the 6 months, that yes, we can see a possibility of a reversal of the current status quo.
So in all three of these countries, Mali, Niger, Burkina, the junta leaders, one of the reasons they gave for pushing out the previous governments and taking power by force, one of the reasons they gave was to better secure their country, better fight against armed groups. Has that happened? Have they managed to do that?
Not at all. If you look at Burkina Faso, more than half of that country is currently being governed, as it were, even though I think I'll be overreaching if I say governed, but the control that the government has in those territories is very slim. Most of the non-state actors that are active in half of that country have more control than the government. The same thing with Mali. And then, of course, with Niger, where we're seeing attacks by these groups, continuously. So the promise of improved security hasn't happened yet. And neither have a plan been laid out that would convince any unbiased observer to say that there would be an improvement in the short term. We don't know what role Russia would play, but given the challenges Russia has at home, I don't expect that role to be big in a way that it would create any meaningful change in the short term.
Security analyst Kabir Adamu, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.